Hey folks, I've got my Walmart Hyper Tough brand cordless weed eater. It's battery powered, got the battery taken off just so it's easier to hold. And I want to give you my assessment after using this and also tell you how it compares to some of the big boys. The things I'm going to review here are how long the battery lasts, how long it takes to recharge, how easy this is to use, how well it does cutting heavy brush, and then how easy it is to replace the string, because we all know the string wears out. So let me cut to the chase as far as how this compares to the big boys. It really doesn't. It's not a comparison, and I'll tell you why in just a second here. But I'll also say that just because it's not in the same class as these big ones doesn't mean it's not a purchase you might want to consider. Just like a Chevy and a BMW aren't very comparable, but they're in two different classes. There's a couple of the basics on why they're not even comparable. You see, this one only has one string coming out rather than two on each side. This is the Kobalt 40 volt. This is the Ego. This is one of the biggest name brands. See how it's got two strings? And that's just because this doesn't have the power for two strings to be hitting grass at the same time. It's not made for that. I will say that as far as weight goes, the weight of this is 6 pounds when they've got the battery on it. And that's nearly 4 pounds lighter than this one and almost 5 pounds lighter than this one. And that makes a big difference. This is really simple to use. In fact, if you need to scratch your face or do something, you can keep this going with one hand. I don't know why you'd need to be that efficient, but you can keep this going with one hand. Very easy to use. Now let me talk battery life on this one. I get about 35 minutes of steady use with a full charge on this one, and that means about 35 minutes of the trigger being pulled, cutting normal grass. The other difference that I should point out on this one, the max diameter string you can use is 0.065 inches, where those other ones you can go up to 80 or even 0.095 on the Egos. They have a lot more power. So 35 minutes worth of battery life. When I recharged this, it took me 80 minutes approximately every time I recharge a battery from dead. The other ones vary from twice that length to, in some cases, half that amount of time. I paid $90-some, I think, for this, and maybe it goes on sale from time to time. The other ones were nearly double that. The Kobalt was about $160, the Ego's $200. So this is definitely a cheaper model, but some of the things I really liked about it, it has a feature on it that I'll show some video where push this button and turn the shaft and do the same thing here, tilt the head, and this becomes an edger. That actually worked pretty good. And if you don't have miles and miles of driveway or sidewalk to edge, this does just fine. I have an edger with the metal blade on it, and I have another tool to get out and deal with that. That actually is pretty slick. I was not unhappy about that feature. Just like the other ones, this has the ability to adjust the shaft length like that. It's a lot lighter. It doesn't feel as sturdy as the others, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels like it's good enough. As far as how easy it is to restring this, I'll post a link to a video on how to do it, but it's similar to the old-fashioned kind where you've got to open the head here, wind new string, and put it back in. Another feature I like about this, it has an automatic feed of the string. You don't have to bump the head. In fact, you're not even supposed to bump the head on the ground. All you do is you take the trigger off so it stops running, and then you pull the trigger again. Every time it starts, it lets out a tiny bit of string. So what's my overall recommendation? I'd say this is a suitable product if you have a small house, maybe a very small yard, small fenced yard. 35 minutes of weed eating, if you have a very small yard, probably gets you 2 sessions around, but at the very least, it'll take care of that. You're not gonna be able to clear heavy brush, but on a small house, a small yard, the whole edging feature, I think this works just fine for that. And of course, I can't predict how long this thing will last, but I bet you'll get a handful of years out of this. I think this is worth buying. At 95 bucks, I think it's an okay purchase. If this is on sale, I think it starts to get really good. But I'll also have a link at the end of this video if you want to see my review of some of those other bigger name brand videos. But hopefully this has been helpful. If it has, hit the like button, subscribe, any of that stuff would be appreciated. Thanks for watching.